Welcome back to the Humble Market Timer YouTube channel. Once again, if you enjoy the content, please like, comment, and subscribe. In today's video, I want to look at Lithium Americas. I think if there's one stock you probably want to hold for the next 5 years, this one could be it. Before I go any further, please check the description for my disclaimer. Once again, these are my sole ideas, not investment advice. Now, Lithium Americas is the majority owner of the Thacker Pass lithium deposit. Basically, they have a joint venture with General Motors to produce huge amounts of lithium at Thacker Pass, which is home to one of the largest lithium deposits in the world. Now, this company has been under the radar until late September, early October, when the U.S. was in the midst of its spat with China, and China was sort of holding over our heads various key minerals and critical elements that we need to kind of further our modern technology. And so Trump just sort of said, no more. And he took it upon himself to ensure that we invested in companies that can provide these critical minerals and elements so that we didn't have to be relying on China in the future. And so at that time, the government ended up taking a 5% stake in Lithium Americas, again, to help them get the money that they need to be able to bring this massive lithium deposit into production. Scheduled production is in 2027. Seems like it's a long way away, but really it's not that far. So once that news was announced, as you can see here in the price of Lithium Americas, it was trading at around $3, and it just spiked all the way to over $10. Now, it's since pulled back, but that was a massive move in Lithium Americas in a very short period of time. Now, for a long period of time, the reason why the price in Lithium Americas had been suppressed is because, as you can kind of see here, we've been in a downward cycle in the price of lithium for the past 2 years. A lot of that had to do with a massive spike that we had in 2022 when there was that big push for EVs and things of that nature, and lithium plays a key part in the batteries that power these electric vehicles. But once that narrative sort of died down, the price of lithium died down because there also became sort of a glut in the amount of lithium that was available. So when you have a lot of something, the price has to come down. And that's sort of what happened. And so we've kind of been floundering at lows for, again, the last really 2 years. However, with there being a newfound push in so many different things that we're going to need lithium for, many of the things in modern technology are going to require lithium. It's going to be required in these autonomous vehicles, in robots, in these drones, and then even more importantly, and what has sort of been undervalued and underreported, is the need for lithium in these energy storage systems that we have to use for many of these energy-starved AI data centers. So there's really going to be a strong increase in demand for lithium that we don't quite really have right now. So it's something that you can project in the future. And as you can see, these people are projecting that demand could reach up to 28,000 tons by 2026. To kind of look at where we are currently, As you can see, we recently had an uptick in lithium carbonate spot prices. It bottomed at around 6,000, or more really around 8,000 back in June. But as you see, we have since upticked to about 13,000 for the price of lithium carbonate in just the past 5 months. So you're already starting to see an uptick in the price of lithium, but we're still, as you can see here, well below where we once were back in 2022. So keep that in mind. We're on the price of lithium is starting to increase, but it has been in a pretty bottom cycle for the last 2 years. That's ideal for an investment strategy if you have a long-term horizon. Now let's kind of look at the chart. As I said, once the government took an equity stake in Lithium Americas, it automatically made the company a lot safer to own, because with the government backing, you know it won't fail. So there is some security in knowing that a company is not going to just go out of business, and you know it won't go out of business if you know it has the backing of the government. But here's as I mentioned, the move in Lithium Americas. You see, we made a huge spike on the news of the equity stake by the government, but it has since retraced. Let's just kind of look at the fibs to see what that retracement looks like. See where we retrace to. You know, I've talked about many times on my channel how the 786 in the Fibonacci retracement is a key area for when you have a massive move. Oftentimes the pullback pulls back to the 786, and lo and behold, look at where we pulled back. We pulled back right at the 786. We have been holding support, and we are starting to now bounce off that 786. So very positive sign. You know, it's pretty crazy to kind of buy in that initial spike unless you were in early, but things are looking like it might be a good time to possibly get back in to Lithium Americas, again, specifically if you have a pretty long time frame. So that's sort of looking at the Fibonacci retracement and the current price action. Let's kind of look and see if we see some trends in the current action. My eyes are showing me that we may have a parallel in this area, and it looks like we are now starting to trade potentially inside this parallel. So this is something that we can keep an eye on in the next couple of days and weeks, to see if we can trade and stay inside this parallel. This could potentially be a sign that we may be in the process of working our way back up to higher levels. So keep an eye on that parallel as well. Let's take a much broader look though at Lithium Americas and see if we can get an idea of how the company has traded, where it's going, and some much longer trend lines that we can draw to really see what the story is with this particular company. Let's draw another parallel, and my eyes again are telling me to connect these bottom levels. It's pretty this looks like pretty obvious levels that we have for support and resistance based on the parallel. Let me adjust it slightly. So here we go. I think this is sort of the parallel that Lithium Americas has been trading in. over the course of, I think I guess it IPO'd around that 2012 time frame, and it's sort of been in this range with the exception of the price spike in that time frame when the lithium prices started to explode. So this has sort of been an outlier when we had that huge price increase, but for the most part it has traded in this area here. If we kind of scan out and zoom out a little bit more, you can see that we're starting to, after we had that retrace all the way back to the bottom of that parallel, we had the spike from the news of the equity stake with the government, and as we've since pulled back, and you see we're now starting to bounce. And what I think is really important that I'm seeing here is that we're starting to hold that midline, that midpoint line. That is a key line, and we can hold that line. You can see that line was also an area of resistance a couple of times here looking at the chart. If we can hold that line and then break out of that midline and work our way back up to the top part of the parallel, you're now positioning yourself for a potential break out of that parallel in the future, and that's where you get the big moves. Also, with the prices of lithium potentially going up, that could mean another big move is on the horizon in the very near future. Again, just sort of kind of looking where my eyes are taking me. I'm seeing also sort of a downtrend here that it was in, that it has recently broke, and then we had that big spike out of it. And oftentimes when you've had an extended downtrend, when you break the downtrend, you get a spike. But then if you can retrace and hold and not give it all back, you can then work your way back up and make highs off of that really negative price action that we had for almost 2 to 3 years. So that's sort of looking at Lithium Americas from a technical standpoint. I want to make one more point. Lithium Americas right now is at about a $1.5 billion market cap. So it's not a huge market cap. However, it is estimated that that particular Thacker Pass deposit could be valued at $1.5 trillion. So you're looking at a company that is currently at 1.5, but it's potentially sitting on a deposit that's worth almost $1.5 trillion. So that in itself sort of shows you the potential upside in Lithium Americas. It won't happen overnight. It's probably going to require some patience, but I think if you've got a 4 to 5 year horizon, understanding that you have the backing of the government and you're going to have increased pricing with lithium, as lithium is needed for all these different things that we have as far as modern technology, Lithium Americas could be a stock worth holding for the long term. Hope you like the content. If you like it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.